Welcome, Middlers, to the Medium in the Middle podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I take you on a journey of self-discovery and spiritual exploration. I am a Reiki master teacher, a spiritual and business mentor, and of course, a psychic medium. And I am here to share my story and help you tap into your extraordinary abilities. Join me every Wednesday as we dive into the realms of intuition, energy healing, and all things mystical. Whether you're a seasoned spiritual seeker or just dipping your toes into the magical waters, this podcast is your go-to source for inspiration, guidance, and a whole lot of lessons and laughter along the way. Let's get started. Hello, Middlers. Welcome to episode 251. My name is Stephanie. I am the medium in the middle, and I'm a little raspy today. So I apologize. I hope it's okay to listen to because I have a good story for you today. I am sharing a psychic love story, and this is going to be rolled out in 3 parts again, intentionally ending the week of Valentine's Day. The last episode will be released on February 12th. And I didn't really intend to do 2 3-part series back to back, but I do want this to release around Valentine's Day, so that is why we're going back to back. And then we will be back with our regular 1-episode programming. So the same intention about this 3-part series as the one with the house. It is to indicate the length of time that these stories happened over. The first part today happened over 5 years ago, and this story starts in 2010. So I just want to share this with you as a complete package because, again, it's another intuition story. It's another, signs from the universe, synchronicity story. But this all didn't make sense until the end. So when I share the final episode, there will be a lot of aha moments, and I just think that the impact of this will really support you, the listeners, and I think it's a very good example that I have to share. Again, a little bit uncomfortable to share this story, but I know that the impact is greater than my uncomfort recording this and sharing it with the world. So grab a cup of tea or, get doing the dishes while you listen to this because we are doing installment 1 of a psychic love story. And I have to set the stage because this story starts back in 2010. Now, a few rules I have when I share things on the podcast. Number 1, they have to be complete. So I have to have the full story in order for me to share it with you. And then number 2, a good amount of time must have passed. So there is also a time period where I won't share it on the podcast, especially if it's personal like this one. The house was the exception that I shared a lot sooner because I was in the house at that point. But when it comes to other things, I do like to have some type of time buffer. So we're going back in time to share these stories. Okay, so we are going back to 2010. And I moved out west for the first time. So I am from Ontario, Canada, which is on one side of the country. And I moved to Alberta, which is on the other side of Canada, the other side of the country. And it was 2010, and I moved out to Jasper for a summer in between university. And when I was living in Jasper, I met this man. And nothing happened that summer. We were friends. I had a crush on him. And for this series, we will call him Mr. Jasper. So I met Mr. Jasper in 2010. And he told me that he lived in the Banff area. So the next summer, I was coming to Banff to work for the summer in between university. And I was supposed to be coming with a friend. So me and my friend were supposed to be moving to Banff together. and I was applying for jobs, and she was applying for jobs. And because I had worked in Jasper the summer before, I got a job at the Fairmont again, and we just assumed she would get a job. So she didn't get a call, and it was literally our going away party. It was like a Friday night, and we were leaving on Sunday, or it was a Saturday night, and I was leaving on Monday. I forget the day. And it was our going away party. We were having like Steph and her name is Kath. I won't even try to give her a fake name. So Steph and Kath, we were going to Banff. And on our going away party, she looked at me and she said, "Steph, I don't have a job offer. Like, I don't think I'm going." And I looked at her and I was like, oh no. Like, I wasn't planning to move across the country again alone. Because the summer before I had moved for a boy. That's a whole other story. So I was like, okay, now I'm moving to Banff alone. And I started to rack my brain, and I remembered Mr. Jasper told me he lived in the Banff area. But this was way back when, and I don't think I had his phone number. I didn't even remember his last name. I just remembered his last name was something crazy. Like, it was like XYZ, WXYZ, VVY, WKYZ. Like, it was like he had some crazy last name. So I went on Facebook and I just searched Mr. Jasper XYZ, Mr. Jasper ZZY, Mr. Jasper, trying to find him. Eventually I found him and I said, "Hey, I'm moving to Banff. I'm supposed to be moving with my friend. She's not coming anymore. I don't know anyone. Do you want to be my friend?" And he said, "Hey, yeah, like, let me know when you're in town. Like, we'll go out." I said, "Okay, I will." So once I was settled in Banff, I moved the summer of 2011. I messaged Mr. Jasper and we went out, and then we dated for 3.5 years. And then we almost got engaged, but I refused to do his engagement idea. That's a story for another post. And then we broke up. And then I started dating Joe. You've been here for a while. Joe was my ex-fiance. Fake names. These are all fake names. And me and my ex-fiance Joe moved back to Ontario. While I was in Ontario is when I started to become a medium, or realize that I was a medium. So in the first 10 episodes of this podcast, I share the first time. It's called The First Time. That was the first time I connected with spirit. And then a few episodes later, I share a story of before the first time. And it was when I was having dreams about Mr. Jasper's brother, who had passed away for about 8 months to a year. It was a long time. And I would wake up seeing Mr. Jasper's face, like, right in front of me. I was not a vivid dreamer, but I thought I was going crazy. So if you go back and find the episode before the first time, that is actually about Mr. Jasper. Full circle moment here. If you're a middler, I'm putting all the pieces of the puzzle together for you. Okay, we're really Cole's Notes version, some of this story. So I break up with Mr. Jasper, start dating Joe, move back to Ontario, and then I start dreaming about Mr. Jasper's brother. I actually reach out to him. We talk a little bit. Then we don't talk again for years. And then I move back to Banff without Joe. I break up with Joe. And now we're in 2018. Are you with me? Okay, so it's 2018. I just moved back to Banff. Now, I ended up breaking up with Joe after being in Banff for a few months, so now it's 2019, and we had broken up, but I was still wearing my engagement ring. And I remember this so vividly. So I was still wearing my engagement ring because it's kind of weird to be wearing something for 3.5 years and then one day just take it off. So I put it on every day and I would look at it and be like, I need to take this off. And I was like, no, not today. And then it was about a 3-week period, I think, where I'd put the ring on, take it off because it'd feel weird, feel heavy. My finger felt fat, the ring felt small. And then I'd put it back on. And then, I'd go about my day. And maybe throughout the day, I'd wiggle it a little bit. Like, it was just feeling weird on my finger. And then it moved to I would put it on and take it off twice. So I'd put it on, take it off. Put it on, take it off. put it on, and it would be fine. And then on this day, I vividly remember where I was standing. I remember the room I was in. I remember this. I don't know why so clearly. Put on my engagement ring. I took it off. It felt weird. It felt the weirdest it's ever felt. Like it felt like it was burning my finger. My finger felt fat. The ring felt skinny. It felt wrong. It felt bad. Like I was like, ugh. So I put it on, took it off. Put it on, took it off. Put it on, couldn't stand it, took it off. And I was like, huh. That was the first time I put it on, took it off 3 times. Before that, it was once, twice. And I was like, today is the day I don't wear my engagement ring for the first time. And I was late for work, so I remember after that point, I didn't really have very much time to like put more thought towards this. So I took it off, put it in the box, and ran away. And I, again, vividly remember this day. I went to work. I was training. So I moved back to Banff to be an assistant manager of a restaurant I used to work at. But I was taking over a mat leave. The woman I was taking over for the mat leave was not gone yet. So I was doing some training shifts. I was doing some serving shifts. I was just doing kind of a little bit of everything until her mat leave started and I took over assistant general manager of the restaurant. So this day I was opening lunch server and I believe I was working alone because it was like probably January or February. It was early 2019. I don't remember what month it was, but I remember it was cold and it wasn't very busy. So there was like one server on, was pretty normal. And I remember I went out the night before, so my hair was messy. I looked like a thumb. I didn't have much makeup on and I didn't have my signature bold lipstick on. I was always known for having like a bold lip. I'm still known for that. I love a lipstick. But I remember like I look like a thumb. So I was the only server on and there was a bunch of people that walked in the door. Probably like 20 people walked in the door at once. And this was just the lunch rush. It was very typical that the lunch rush happened. You got 20 tables, the lunch rush left, and that was it. Not actually 20 tables, maybe 10 tables. So the lunch rush came in. So there was a ton of people at the front door. So I was running around sitting them all. And I looked up and there was Mr. Jasper standing with 4 guys. And he said, hello, table for 4. I said, table for 4. I grabbed 4 menus. I sat him and I ran to the back room to hyperventilate. And I said, of course, it's the day I look like a thumb. I don't have lipstick on. Oh my gosh, of course, like 5 tables just walked in at once. So I just sat all these tables I now have to serve. Of course, I'm not wearing a lipstick. And I like tried to find a chapstick or something, fix my hair. I had expected him to walk into the restaurant every single day, except for this day. Because this day I was too hungover to even think of it. And I don't even know why every single other day I had expected him to walk in the door because he doesn't live in Banff. But I was just like, he could come to the restaurant and he could see me. So I quickly fixed my hair and makeup and I put my lipstick on and I'm in the back hyperventilating and I'm like, okay, he didn't say hi. I didn't say hi. Maybe we're playing this game where we ignore each other. Like maybe, I don't know, maybe we're just not talking. I don't know. I was like, I don't have time to think about it because 5 tables just sat and I need to go serve them. So I like pump myself up. I go to turn the corner from the back space and Mr. Jasper is standing up at his table. And he was like, oh my God, Steph, I didn't even recognize you. My brain didn't even process. Oh my God, what are you doing here? And I was like, oh, I guess we are talking. And then so I went over and I was like, hi. And he grabbed my hand and he said, what are you doing here? And where's your ring? And I wasn't about to tell this man that today was the day that I took it off for the first time. So I was like, like, I moved back. And he was like, these are my work colleagues. We're starting a business. Like, this is Steph. He said it like they would know who I am. And then he was like, she moved away years ago because she said she wanted to move back to Ontario. And here she is. And I was like, here I am. He was like, what are you doing back? I was like, turns out I didn't like Ontario. I just recently moved back. I'm going to be AGM here. Like, I'm back. And we like chit-chatted or whatever. Again, I just had 5 other tables, so I couldn't really talk to him. And I was running around, and then he left. He was like, bye, nice to see you. I was like, bye. And I was like, did that really just happen? The day that I took off my engagement ring, looking like a thumb, this man walks into the restaurant, grabs my hand, and asks me where my ring is. Because he knew Joe. He knew I was engaged. He knew I moved back to Ontario. Like, he knew all these things. So, I have no shame in this. Obviously, when I moved back to Banff, I went on Facebook and crept Mr. Jasper. And I saw that he was married with a kid, a new baby. And I was intrigued that he didn't tell me that when I saw him. I was like, no mention of his wife or child. Very interesting. And then a few weeks later, I saw him again in Banff. And we were crossing the road. So I saw him on a crosswalk, like he was crossing one way, I was crossing another way. And we ended up walking about half a block in the same direction. And I could tell that he knew he didn't tell me about his wife and child last time. So he was like, oh, I actually just had a baby girl. And he told me about it. And I was like, oh, congratulations. What's her name? And literally a few sentences, I walked into a coffee shop. I said goodbye. He said goodbye. I was like, oh, he finally told me about his kid. And I was like, okay. So that was in 2019. And I did not see him again for 5 years. I never ran into him in Banff. I never saw him in a restaurant. I never saw him again after that time. And this is where we will end part 1 of the story. Now, I do want to say something about this, laying the groundwork of this story. At that time, I was just like, oh, that's crazy. He walked in the day I took off my engagement ring. I didn't understand the impact of this story until about 2 years ago. I don't know why I was thinking about it, and I was just like, what are the odds, like the synchronicities to line up that the day I take my engagement ring off, Mr. Jasper, the man I almost married before Joe, walks in. And if you were to ask my mother, she would say I moved to Banff for Mr. Jasper, which wasn't true. But in her mind, she was always like, you had such a crush on him. You always talked about him. No, 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 no. And I was like, oh, with the fates will allow. So remember that when I first moved to Banff, it was when all of my intuitive stuff was just opening. So I was still like very close to Muggle still. So I didn't understand any of this stuff. It was literally years later that I was like, that's a crazy story. I'm sharing this crazy story with you as part 1. The next 2 weeks will be part 2 and part 3. Part 3 will be the wrap up. And I'm going to leave you on this cliffhanger. Because I had to wait 5 years. You only have to wait a week. So before we wrap up, there are 2 mediumship practice circles in February. There's one on February 15th at 11 a.m. That's a Saturday. And there's one on Thursday, February 27th at 6 p.m. The next Reiki Level 1 trainings is on February 22nd and 23rd. And then March 22nd and 23rd. The next level 2 is March 8th and 9th. I will leave all the links you need down below in the show notes to book an appointment with me, book in for a mediumship circle, and all the links you need are down below in the show notes. If you haven't already, make sure you press subscribe. I release new episodes every Wednesday. I would love and appreciate a rating and review wherever you are listening. But until next Wednesday, Middlers, when I come back with part 2 of this podcast series, A Psychic Love Story. I hope you have a wonderful week. See you in your ears in 1 week. Bye.